Welcome to the second video of the series One Piece 2 reviews. Thanks so much for giving the first one a lot of love. Today I am discussing this week's manga chapter 1069 and also this week's anime episode 1044. First, I'll discuss my thoughts on the latest manga chapter. Chapter 1069 is unironically one of my favorite chapters of all time. In last week's One Piece 2 reviews video, I was saying that chapter 1068 didn't have any lore dump. But boy oh boy did chapter 1069 have some. In my opinion, the lore about devil fruits is even more interesting than what the One Piece is, as I've been thinking about this even in the East Blue saga. Well, we don't get the full lore about devil fruits in this chapter, but we do get the overall root of devil fruits, which is also the title of the chapter. The desire of all things are born to this world, or we owe all there is to desire. Let's go over the key points of this chapter. I'm really glad that Luffy is getting the Emperor treatment now. Both Akainu and Kaku are cautious about engaging in a fight with the Straw Hats. However, one thing that I didn't like was Stussie's comment about why they shouldn't fight the Straw Hats. She says that if they deal with Luffy, his subordinates will start a war. Really? Subordinates? What are they talking about? The Grand Fleet? Do you think they combined, all the Grand Fleet members combined, like 5,000 of them, are they as strong as Luffy even? Or even Zoro or Sanji or Jinbei? Like all of them combined versus one of them. Well, let me tell you something. The only powerful ones of the Grand Fleet are Bartholomew, Cavendish, Sai and Hyrodin. These four you can say. Actually, only Bartholomew and Cavendish you can make a point about it, because Sai and Hyrodin were easily taken down by Luffy low diff in the Colosseum. And Bartholomew and Cavendish together cannot bring down any of the monster trio. And I'm not talking about Luffy, I'm just talking about Zoro, Sanji and Jinbei even. I would say that the strongest that they can be considered to be are on Brook's level, not even Frankie's level. And besides Bartholomew and Cavendish, the other Grand Fleet members are little more than fodder. So I really dislike when anime and manga do things like this, like hyping up numbers when it is clear to everyone that they don't matter at all. Did they matter in Onigashima? Not really. It was just a subplot for Otama to use her slave no me. Okay, rant over. Back to gushing over the chapter. So Luffy is angry after seeing Atlas down and out. He's super angry because Atlas gave them food. Well, actually Atlas let them have food from the instant cooking machine, about which I have a video, so do check it out. I think Sanji will hate the instant cooking machine, yes. So anyway, Luffy is furious and is ready to fight, because when it comes to food, Luffy has no tolerance policy whatsoever. Interestingly, if you remember, on Whiskey Peak, Luffy fought Zoro because he thought that Zoro beat up the guys who brought them food. I love the scene because it's Zoro versus Luffy, my two favorite characters of One Piece, but I hate Luffy's rationale there, especially because he always believes in his crewmates such as Nami in Arlong Park and Sanji on Whole Cake Island. He never disbelieved in them for even an instant. However, for Zoro, his first mate, he started fighting without even letting Zoro explain himself. As I said, I hated Luffy's actions there, but I do have to acknowledge that the reason was for food. When it comes to food, you can never reason with Luffy. Now coming to my favorite part of this chapter besides the lore dump, it is confirmed that KIZARU is coming to Egghead. KIZARU, Borsalino KIZARU. He's by far my favorite admiral, and I do like all the admirals, even Akainu and Green Bull. And KIZARU is also, in my opinion, the most dangerous admiral if he puts his mind to it. Whereas Akainu can be said to be the most dangerous on average because he's always serious. But I can't wait for KIZARU to come in and wreck everyone. So I don't want to hear about KIZARU being low or mid-diffed by Luffy or even Zoro or Sanji. The Straw Hats, some people think that they can even handle KIZARU at this point. No. Lucci is keeping up against Luffy, and so KIZARU should at least be able to push Luffy to his limit, even if he loses. So speaking of Lucci versus Luffy, I have overall positive feelings about it. I don't think that it's logical for Lucci to keep up. If it was Luffy in base form, then probably it's okay, but Luffy was dominating Lucci whenever he went gear 3rd on Enies lobby, if you remember. And now it's not even gear 4th, it's gear 5th. Still, I am not disliking the fight because I think that it is clear that Luffy has the edge. He is not necessarily taking Lucci lightly. Some people might say that Luffy fell asleep in the middle of the fight, so he might not be taking the fight seriously in fact. But no, this is exactly how Luffy fights, especially in gear 5th. He enjoys it and laughs continuously. Just look back at Kaido versus gear 5th Luffy. Luffy did much more wacky stuff there. So I am overall liking this fight as Lucci is neither being overwhelmed and nor is he pushing Luffy's back on the wall. It's better in fact than Luffy versus Ulti if you think about it. Ulti was even manhandling Luffy and Luffy would have needed to go gear 4th unless Yamato came to save him. That was more illogical in my opinion than Luffy versus Lucci here. Now about the Devil Fruit lore dump, I won't go into much depth here, but if you want an in-depth explanation, do comment in the comments below and I may think about making a separate video on it. So, Vegapunk says that devil fruits are the manifestations of human desires. So this makes me think directly of Jujutsu Kaisen and of the concept of curses. For example, due to the accumulation of negative feelings and emotions, curses manifest. A similar concept is also present in Bleach for hollows. So are these the wishes of the normal people of the One Piece verse? Or particularly of people who are oppressed by the status quo such as on Dressrosa or Alabasta? Or maybe the wishes themselves didn't cause or manifest the devil fruits but some godlike creature like the sun god Nika or Joy Boy or even Emu who created all devil fruits. And are wishes still manifesting new devil fruits? Or has the amount of devil fruits been fixed by someone hundreds of years ago, maybe in the Void Century or even before that? That could be the case in fact, because Vegapunk was surprised that he had not seen the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika in the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. This implies that he has seen no other devil fruit besides Luffy's fruit, which is absent in the encyclopedia. The last thing I'll say about this is that it's just a theory or hypothesis of Vegapunk. He's not sure that he is correct, but I personally think that we can probably assume it's true unless proven otherwise. Yet another interesting thing about this chapter is that we get a command hierarchy of the Pacifistas and the Seraphim. On top are the 5 elders, then Vegapunk and his bodies, and then Sentomaru, and then number 4, finally anyone with the authority chips. A funny and wholesome thing happened where even the Seraphim with CP0, which was S-Bear or S-Kuma, started fighting them. That was hilarious to me. But even more important to the discussion is the command hierarchy. Here we get 4 people or groups of people, as I said, in the hierarchy, but Monkey D. Dragon was also able to command Kuma, the original one, even though Kuma had by that point almost entirely lost his humanity. Why and how was Dragon able to do that? I myself don't have a concrete idea, but I do think that it's very important. Finally, another very interesting part of this chapter to me was S-Snake. I love Boa and Mihawk, by the way. They are 2 of my favorite characters in One Piece. And Sentomaru gives an order to S-Snake to lead the Straw Hats to safety. And we see that there are ... dots in S-Snake's dialogue box. We don't know if the Seraphim can talk, as we haven't seen anyone do so. I personally think they can't, at least not yet, but they also have memories of the original person they're modeled off of. Does that mean that S-Boa will have feelings for Luffy? I hope so. I'm not sure though, because Boa's DNA was most likely taken when she was a slave of the Celestial Dragons, and that was when she was 12. Obviously she didn't know Luffy at that time, so I'm not sure if she will have feelings for Luffy in her S-Boa form, S-Snake form. But it would be very interesting for sure if she does. Overall, I love the chapter. It's not perfect and I have one major problem, which is about Stuss's dialogue. so I wouldn't objectively rate it a 10 out of 10. But personally and with my own bias, it is a 10 out of 10 because the high moments of this chapter more than made up for the low moments for me. I genuinely can't wait for the next chapter. Now, time for the anime review of this week, which is episode 1044. This episode adapted most of the manga chapter 1021 and showed the climax of Robin vs Black Maria, and I absolutely loved it. Robin vs Black Maria is undoubtedly one of my favorite fights in Wano and my absolutely favorite Robin fight, especially as she has not had a single one-on-one fight even since Skypiea, yeah, that long. Now, this chapter in the manga was one of my absolute favorites and actually made me want to become a One Piece YouTuber, I mean chapter 1021. And in the anime, in episode 1044, it was every bit as good, and even better as I would say. No time was spent on recapping the last episode, and I have noticed that episodes which have little to no recap of the previous episodes are especially good. For example, take episode 1015, which adapted chapter 1000, and that did not have a recap, not even a second. This episode also had good pacing as it focused almost entirely on the fight. It was all Robin and Black Maria, though Brook was also there being all badass. I do love Brook in this chapter as well, and also in this episode. Robin's backstory was also shown in bits in this episode to extend the scenes, and I for one loved it. It did not feel repetitive, but felt like it helped the tone of the fight as well. I also liked Robin's flashback about Koala, Sabo and Hack teaching her fishman karate. I especially loved it as they showed other points in the story where Robin used it, such as on Fishman Island. Another thing I very much enjoyed in this episode was the direction of the animation. First, I'm very much loving the dark filter of the Wano arc if I haven't said it before, but besides that, the animation itself was very smooth and fluid. And some scenes were especially very genius. For example, when Robin hit her Gigantium, her extended arm paralleled the metaphorical path that she took to keep running from her past after Aokiji manifested an icy road for her to escape Ohara. Then the pathway created by her arm turned into the Gigantium blow that extinguished the fire of the hall she was fighting in. It was beautiful, beautiful imagery. Now, about the Demonio form itself, it was wonderful as you subscribing to my channel. If you like the content, do it guys, please. So the Demonio form looked great, and it was also animated in a very cool way, with Robin appearing to turn into her child form, doing the Dereshishishi laugh, and then suddenly surprising Black Maria with her Demonio form. And my oh my, Demonio floor is extremely large. Do you guys know that Black Maria is even taller than Kaido in his base form? And Demonio Floor in fact dwarfs Black Maria. Robin in this form is probably as tall as a giant, as a real giant. She is hella scary too, oh my gosh. With her enormous wings and horns, she does look like a devil. I wonder if there is a devil race, you know, like Gecko Moria, Kaido, Yamato and the ancient giants like Ors and Ors Jr. Now let's go to the third part of the video, anime and manga parallels of the same week. There is no direct parallel between the chapter and episode this week, as the episode focused on Robin and Brook, while the chapter focused on Luffy, Lucci and Devil Fruits. One indirect connection is that both the chapter and the episode have a fight with awakened Devil Fruit users. Of course, both Luffy and Lucci are awakened zone users, and Robin is most probably in her awakened form with the Demonio. A more interesting link is that we learned in the latest chapter 1069 that Devil Fruits are manifested by the power of desire. And we know that Devil Fruit awakenings occur when the mind and the body catch up to each other, so there is resonance. Robin thus was able to awaken her fruit because to help her friends, she is okay with becoming a devil. She thus embraced the devil inside her and so was able to awaken her fruit. Before this, Robin used to hate when people called her the devil child as it triggered her PTSD. Now though, she has embraced it, just like Chopper, who hated to be called a monster but now is happy to become a monster to protect his friends in Monster Point. That was the video for this week's One Piece 2 reviews. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, do like, comment and subscribe. Tata.